Hello and welcome to my channel. Oh gosh, like I have been pushing this thing for the longest time and I feel so excited to be able to finally record something for my YouTube channel. If you're watching this, it's the 1st of January 2022, so Happy New Year! I thought to start a YouTube channel, and yes, I have my topic for today. But in general, I'm going to be sharing a lot of behind the scenes of my life, my career, things about tech, money, finances, and what have you. Just general tips that can be useful to you as well. So, as regular YouTuber, please subscribe to my channel. So, it's been almost a year that I relocated to the UK, which is what I want to talk about today. So it would be exactly 1 year that I relocated to the UK in a few weeks, about 3 weeks now. And it's been a journey. So I'm going to be sharing with you how I decided to move to the UK, what visa I used to move to the UK, and how I'm doing so far 1 year down the line. So, how did I decide to move to the UK? So everybody knows, pandemic happened early 2020, and for people that know my background, I used to be an entrepreneur, and I had a couple of startups, fintech startups. So my life usually is really like past, there's like no downtime ever. My mind is always like running, thinking of this strategy, that strategy, how to grow the business, and all. And then pandemic happened, and then our lockdown in Nigeria, which is where I'm from, was just for about 2 months, where nothing much was happening. And when we went into the lockdown, I think the first 2 weeks, I was trying to be active and just exercising my mind, thinking, oh, this thing is going to pass and really quickly. But little did I know that it was going to last for like 2 months. And just being forced to pause really started the journey for me to start to consider relocating outside Nigeria. For the first time in the longest time, more than 10 years, I had nothing to do, like literally nothing. I went through like different phases of, you know, denial, like I said initially, like, oh, this thing is going to pass really quickly, to really getting scared, to listening to just way too many noises about people talking about, oh, what's going to happen, what people are going to be buying, how people's lives are going to change. And I was thinking about how I was going to just re-strategize my business. And if I tell you some of the things that came to my mind, you will marvel. But that's not the gist for this particular topic that we're talking about. But anyways, while I was home, just spending too much time in my own head, I really started to think about relocating, life outside Nigeria. But every time I would consider that, I would think of, okay, so what will I be doing? What would happen to my business? And for someone that suffers from analysis paralysis, like I can overthink things and talk myself out of taking that step completely, I knew that it wouldn't make any sense for me to really think about what my life would look like, or what my business would look like when I leave Nigeria at that moment. So I spoke to a couple of friends, and they really encouraged me uh, about opportunities that are out there. And the first thing that I thought that I would be able to use was to go to school, go for masters. For someone who doesn't like book, like that was. I just kept thinking about it, like, why am I going for an MBA? Like, I'm not ready. I'm not interested at the moment. And every time I would punch the school fees into my calculator to look at the exchange rate, I was just overwhelmed. It was crazy expensive. It was like, you know, all my life savings plus a huge change that I would need. And I was like, I don't think I want to waste money, especially for something that I'm not particularly interested in, to relocate outside Nigeria. And then, of course, there were like peculiar countries that people were really going to. Everybody was going to Canada. And for some weird reason, I didn't want to go to Canada. I've got family in the US, and that would be like the natural place I probably would have wanted to relocate to. But at that time, Trump was the president. There were so many unfriendly immigration policies happening then, and I just didn't see the channel to relocate to the US. UK, which was my first choice, by the way, I didn't know any channel apart from either going to school or getting the startup visa, which I can shed more light a little later. But the startup visa requires you to have a certain amount of money that you can invest in the UK to be able to come in and then start a business. And that money, it just didn't make sense to me at that point in time. Like, why do I want to spend this kind of money? And I was looking for something flexible, so I started Canada. Right, I said, okay, I'm just going to try the express entry. And I started with my, I think, result verification. That's the West. So I paid my transcripts to be sent and everything. I'd gotten into the pool, and which it just looked like the easiest option, really. And then I was talking to one of my friends who asked me if I had simulated my points. So there is this point system where they would ask you a bunch of questions to kind of simulate how I would imagine, like, eligible you are to come into Canada with the express entry. And when I told my friend that my points was like 300 and something, she was like, Jerry, you go take for Pulo. Those were her words. And I was like, oh, really? Why? She was like, oh, those, your points are low. And, the people that are getting called, they are within a certain point. So that sort of discouraged me. But I was still going to just continue, because she told me about another option, which was like provincial nominee path. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll try that. And I'll still go ahead and do my IELTS exam. Anyways, I was preparing for my IELTS exam, and then our own lockdown was now lifted and we could go back to work. So really quickly, I go back to work. I was excited to have my life back to normal, but the process that I started in trying to relocate was still somehow at the back of my mind. And then I was talking to one of my friends again. Shout out to all my friends that really supported me on this journey, by the way. And I was talking to him about how I was thinking about relocating outside Nigeria, but I didn't know any paths, and the UK was like my first option. It was just more logical for me because, one, time zone wise, UK and Nigeria are within like the same time zone, unless times where The UK is like 1 hour behind Nigeria, but it's still about the same time. The ease of, even like traveling back and forth to Nigeria, the journey isn't that long, especially for me when, my business was still in Nigeria, that it would be easy for me to still manage my employees and then also travel back and forth within 6 hours. I would be in Nigeria, so it felt like a more logical option. And then it was like, oh, some of our classmates actually used a particular visa. It's called, exceptional talent visa. Go check it out. And that was how I, went on Google right away and found this amazing visa called the UK Global Talent Visa. So I started to do my research, and then I found out that the UK Global Talent Visa is for, really talented people, and I felt like, oh yeah, I think I'm talented, I should be able to get this visa. So the visa actually allows different talents from around the world to come into the UK through different endorsing bodies. So depending on your, I would say, background, education or career, there are different bodies that the UK government have nominated to vet people who can come into the UK and just, grow their economy, if that makes any sense. So there's engineering, there is tech, there's arts and fashion. You can do your research by just searching for UK Global Talent Visa to see the sector that you fit into. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was running some fintech startups. So logically, I went with Technation, which is the body that endorses tech talents. And when I mean tech talents, it's not necessarily people that are techie that code. It's basically everyone from, HR in tech to business development in tech, our CEOs of businesses, digital marketers, cybersecurity talents, UI UX, coders as well, developers. So Technation was the body that would endorse these kinds of talent, and immediately I went on their website and I went to Technation Visa tab. I don't know what it is now, so you can do your research as well. I was able to see the criteria to be able to apply for the visa. And God knows, at first glance, just reading through it, I was like, I think I can totally apply for this visa. And then when I started going through the requirements again, I was like, I don't think this thing is as simple as it is. So I spent some time to do my research. So I heard about this visa around May. So right after the lockdown was lifted in Nigeria, was when I heard about the visa, and I kept doing my research. There were not a lot of materials online, by the way. And it just felt like that situation where, if you're looking to buy a particular car, you start to see everywhere. Because I kept wondering to myself, how come I never heard about this visa? How come it wasn't popular? And then even also now finding out that some of my classmates had used the visa to relocate to the UK, or to even like stay in the UK after their masters. I felt like, how come nobody was talking about it? There were just like very few materials online. So I kept doing my research, and so the UK Global Talent Visa has, when I did mine, it had 6 criteria, and you had to pick three. Um, three criteria. So there were two mandatory. I don't know what it was called then. but 2 mandatory criteria and 4 optional ones. So you had to pick one of the mandatory ones, and then you could pick any 2 from the 4 optional ones then. So that was my own time. And I think like maybe a month after I had submitted my application, they revised their policy, and there are now 5 criteria to meet 3, but there's one compulsory one that you have to be able to meet, and then apply for any other 2 from the remaining 4. So that's the process now. So back to my own process. So 4 optional criteria, 2 mandatory ones, but you have to pick 3, 1 from the mandatory one and 2 from the optional ones. So during my research, I actually felt like I could meet some of the criteria, but I felt like it wasn't very clear how to help entrepreneurs like myself, and I didn't really know how to position my application properly. So I went online and I found a coach, and I decided to work with a coach. It was because of our money anyways, it was a bit pricey, but because I wanted to do it and I felt like I would stand a better chance of working with a coach, I went with a coach. So many people are able to put in these applications themselves, but I decided to use a coach. Now, a coach is not necessarily going to do the work for you. You will still do your work, but a coach will guide you based on their own experience of helping other people, or maybe their own application, which was what I was more comfortable with. I went with a coach who had gone through the path, who had gotten the visa that I was trying to apply for, and who had also gone through it in its entirety, because the UK Global Talent Visa is a visa that can help you come into the UK. It gives you right to work without sponsorship. It gives you the right to start a company, without any stress. You remember that I talked about the startup visa originally, that will require you to be able to invest a certain amount of funds in the UK, which doesn't make any sense. This UK Global Talent Visa is very flexible. You can go to school if you want it, and you don't need to have a job before you even come into the UK. So it was the perfect visa, really. And depending on the one that you get, regardless of, it gives you an accelerated path to settlement. So if you get the exceptional talent one, you can apply for your indefinite leave to remain, which is the equivalent for permanent residency in 3 years. And if you get the exceptional promise, you would be able to apply for your indefinite leave to remain in the UK in 5 years. And once you're like 1 year on your indefinite leave to remain, you can apply for naturalization and become a British citizen. So I just looked at the entire journey and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, like you can actually see the end if you're able to get this visa. So I decided to go with a coach. So I started working with my coach early in September. This is how long it took me. So I paid her in August to book my slot, to start in September, and she was going to work with me for 8 weeks to put my application together. So we started the application. I apologize if this is a bit rushed and you want like more details. I might do another video that will be more detailed, where I would be able to have done like more recent research on the current criteria for the UK Global Talent Visa, and I'll be able to talk more about it. So because the criteria that I used, some of them are no longer valid now, is the reason why I'm trying to be a bit careful. Anyways, I started working with my coach, and I had to get 3 letters of recommendation. I had to write a personal statement, and I had to provide my CV, and then 10 pieces of evidences to back the 3 criteria that I chose. So one of the criteria had 4 of the 10 evidences, and then 2 of the other criteria had 3 evidences each. So basically is you're putting together, it's like you're bragging, and if you're not used to bragging and saying you're the best thing since sliced bread, this visa is not for you. Like, you're talking about yourself, you're talking about your achievements, and basically those were the things that I had to dig up. Like, someone like me that I don't really like to put myself out there, I had to really dig deep to find pieces of evidences that I can use to support my application. So they like things around leadership, innovation, impact. So as you're doing your work, and you're interested in applying for this visa, you might want to look at the criteria and actually start to be very deliberate if you want to use this kind of visa that really doesn't require you to have a job. Before you come into the UK, you don't have to pay for school to be able to relocate. You don't need sponsorship. If eventually you want to get a job, you can start a business if you want. Like, it's really flexible, and then you have a path to settlement. Anyways, so started my application, worked with my coach, and then NSAS happened. And sometimes when you have been just faffing around, so faffing is a slang that we use for when you're like just dragging and wasting time. So I was taking my time, but I was still working diligently on my application. But as soon as NSAS happened, it was more like the push for me. Like, I knew that I wanted to leave at that point. And I rushed my application, told my coach I needed to submit end of October, and I ended up not submitting end of October, by the way. So the way the endorsement works, the Global Talent Visa, is you get an endorsement first, then you use your endorsement letter to apply for a visa. Okay, so I was doing my application for the endorsement, which is what I've been talking about. So Technation was what I was applying to in the beginning. Those are the ones that need the evidences. Your visa doesn't need anything but your letter of endorsement and your medical test results. Basically, that's all you need. You don't even need bank statement for your visa. I hope you're able to follow this video really. So I submitted my application for endorsement, and normally on Technation websites, you would see that the endorsement takes between 3 to 8 weeks for you to hear back if you're successful or not. And I submitted my application on the 2nd of November 2020. And that waiting period, when it had not even happened, and I was like, I don't know how I am going to be able to wait 3 to 8 weeks just waiting to hear back. I tried to just go about my business, but I just couldn't do it. I think I went to bed for like a whole day after I submitted. And then 3rd November, I kept refreshing my email, and then I got an email from the Home Office, and I was like, wait, is this happening? And then my endorsement letter was there, like, you've been endorsed by Technation as an exceptional talent, which meant that, I could get my indefinite leave to remain in 3 years and possibly apply for naturalization and become a British citizen um, in 4 years. Like, that's that's crazy. So I said I normally suffer from analysis paralysis. The moment that happened, I knew that okay, now I think I might be traveling. And once you get your endorsement, you need to apply for your visa within 90 days. And you also need to travel within 90 days of your visa. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about the visa bit. So I went for my medicals and applied for my visa. Like I said, you don't need bank statement to apply for your visa. It was simply the endorsement letter, my tuberculosis test, and I filled the visa application form, and then I submitted. So now, the 90 days I was talking about that you have to travel has to do with the dates that you select to travel. So they're going to ask you on your visa application, when do you intend to travel? And that is the date that your visa will start um, to be valid. So I chose to leave in February. And so when I got my visa's validity date started in February and then extended for another 90 days where I would need to travel. So just put that at the back of your mind when you are picking when you intend to travel. So because I obviously still had business in Nigeria and I needed to put my things in order, that was why I chose the February date. Now, I'm sure that some of you might want to know like things like cost and timeline. So if you're doing this application yourself, I can tell you it's the most cost-effective visa you can think about. Now, I'm not being paid to advertise this visa, by the way, but it costs £452 to apply to Technation. Now, the beauty of that is if you apply the first time and you get denied, you can either appeal on the same 452 that you already paid, or you can reapply and just pay another 452 pounds for another application, and you can apply as many times as you can. The beauty again is when people get rejected, there's usually like really constructive and detailed feedback on why they are rejected. So you can actually use that feedback to package another application for yourself, right? The visa application cost after you have gotten your endorsement is £152. So the entire thing is £608. Now, there's an extra cost when you're applying for your visa, depending on the number of years you're applying for. So even though I got the exceptional talent one, and I could have applied for any number of years for my visa between 1 to 5 years. I could apply for 1 year and then renew after 1 year. I could apply for 5 years, I could apply for 3 years, but I can't apply for more than 5 years, right? So you have to pay for NHS surcharge, which would give you access to the healthcare system when you come into the UK. So you would pay per annum. When I was doing mine, it was £624 per annum for the visa. So if you apply for 1 year visa, you pay 624 pounds. If you apply for 2 years, that means you're paying for 624 pounds times 2. Another thing about this visa is if you have dependents, and when I mean dependents, like your immediate family, like your spouse, your children, they will also get this visa when you get endorsed. You can add them to your visa, but there's cost implication to that, because for any cost that you have incurred, be rest assured that you are going to need to pay the same thing for your dependents. So, for example, as I paid 608 pounds for my endorsement and visa, and 624 pounds per year for my healthcare, which is the NHS surcharge, you would pay all this costs for every dependent. So if you're a family of 4, just multiply that cost by 4. But the first thing you need to do, whoever is applying for the visa, is to get the endorsement and then put every other person in. So if you don't get it, you're not wasting money. It's just you that is not that the cost is going to affect, like in the beginning. Like I said, you can try multiple times, and you can also get a coach, just like I did. There are no guarantees, by the way, so let me just put that out there. There are no guarantees that if you use a coach, you're going to get it, but a coach is maybe going to help you better position your application. And to think that Nigeria has the third highest application to Technation, but it still has like the lowest endorsement rate. So there is something that we need to do, in terms of making sure that we package our applications properly, I would say. So if you can afford a coach, by all means, use a coach. If you want to do it yourself, the criteria, everything is there. I think right now the policies are even like clearer, because every time they keep updating the criteria and the types of evidences that they are looking for, so you can easily go and check it out. So, like I said, I chose February to come to the UK, and I came into the UK first week in February, and I've been here since. I will be talking about in my next baby videos some challenges I had at the airport. This is totally like a Nigerian factor, by the way. It has nothing to do with my visa, but that's interesting. I'm also going to be sharing more about, coming to the UK, settling in career-wise, finances, and all the rest in my next videos. But I didn't plan for my video to be this long for my very first video, but bear with me. If you need more details, you can ask questions in the comment section, and I will be happy to share more details with you. On that note, see you next time. Bye.